Ladies and gentlemen, GCW is in the news this week, and it involves a very, very popular independent wrestler. You guys might know just his last name alone, ZILLA FATU. He said something in his live stream during, I believe, his Friday night watch along, where he called out GCW and GCW owner. He didn't say his name directly, but Brett Lauderdale, who is the GCW owner, did respond. There has been some things said over social media in the past couple of, you know, days, the last 70 hours or 42 hours or whatever it's been that I've seen. I just want to, I'm not going to spend too long about it. I'm going to talk to you guys about it here today. Um, because I think it's very interesting. I'm somebody who has followed Zilla's career kind of since the beginning. I enjoy him a lot, not just because who his dad is or who he's related to, but I think he does, have a lot of swagger to him. I think he's gonna be, you know, a good future guy in the business, if he stays out of trouble, which I will get into right now. So Zilla Fatu was doing a watch along, I believe, on, like I said, Friday Night SmackDown this past Friday, where somebody in the chat said something about where he met him at a GCW show. And when Zilla Fatu saw GCW in the chat, this was his response.
I met you and Jacob at GCW Dallas, sitting
Man,
you
fuck
and your
GCW, man.
and your family. Love you.
Weird ass owner,
love you,
man.
good vibes. Hope
Some
everything
weird
is
ass
good,
owner.
Loose. Proud of y'all boys. Yeah, man.
You guys,
Shout out to you though, Frankie.
Shout out to you. For real.
Frankie.
Shout out to Frankie, man. Frankie.
Shout out to Frankie.
Make sure that's the last time you go to GCW. That's the last time.
Fuck GCW.
I'm telling y'all, bro. The owner weird as hell.
First off, who the fuck is the clown behind him with the long hair saying "fuck GCW"? I've never seen that guy in my life. But there's something interesting that his homie to the left said, and I think you guys should take a listen.
If you got kids, do not take your kids there. Don't take none of your kids today. I'm telling y'all, man.
Fuck GCW.
Nah, for real.
But shout out to Frankie. And shout out to Jacob. And shout out to everybody that was at that show. And that was real. Shout out to the real.
That I set up.
Yeah,
I set that show up.
Yeah.
Nah, for real.
I set that all up.
Come on.
There you
Did
go.
you set up Nick Gage too, right?
I set up anything you see in Texas that them niggas come through, bro. Dallas, bro. Roman Rose did that, bro.
And you can.
Who the fuck is Roman Rose? I have no idea who you are, pal. But you probably are somebody in the Texas independent wrestling scene. So I'm not going to be a cornball by disrespecting him because I don't know him. But I will say this just before I show you guys and tell you guys Brett Lauderdale's response, the owner of GCW. Couple things stood out to me. First off, when I'll bring up that second part, actually. I'll bring up what I wanted to say when I read you guys Brett's response because it's very true. So he said, "Don't take your kids to the GCW shows." I mean, I don't follow GCW. I'm gonna be honest. I call it garbage can wrestling for a reason. I don't like I don't like any aspect of that company. I don't like the wrestlers. It's not my pro wrestling. But when he says don't take your kids there, does he mean don't take your kids there because it's an environment in pro wrestling where it's, violent, gives you that kind of ECW vibe? Is it the blood? Is it the shit that goes on what happens at GCW shows to where that, you can't even take your kid? People Zilla's saying that you can't take your kids there. I think that calls for some questioning because I haven't heard too many positive things about the atmosphere at a GCW show. I've never been to one, so I can't testify. But just by what I watch off the crowds, I mean, it just seems like an environment for kids not to be there in general. I don't know if it's, again, is something going on with Brett that needs to be alerted. Is something going on with other wrestlers in the company that needs to be alerted. I don't know. That raised an eye out when I saw the video, but maybe it's because GCW is just a violent wrestling environment. I don't know. Call me fucking delusional. I don't watch it. But when I saw Brett Lauderdale's response, it kind of it was interesting because he does kind of have a point. He responded to this when he saw it, I am assuming, and he said, and I quote, When I first met Zilla, he had 13 matches and an ugly fallout with Booker T under his belt. We took him into the GCW family, brought him on the road, and gave him the opportunity to work with, be around, and learn from some of the best in the business. Nobody else would touch him, and he continues in the thread. I have a lot of respect for the family, so I won't say anything to damage his career, but there's a reason he's still out there, or out here, and not with them on TV, and has nothing to do with his talent. Unfortunately, he hasn't figured that part out yet. Stop. Before I get into the part that I told you guys to hold up on, because it has to do with his next reply under his thread, let's get into that specific line, that specific comment that Brett Lauderdale said, where there's a reason he's still here, not with them on TV, and it has nothing to do with his talent. I believe that. I believe that's why Zilla Fatu is not with AEW, is not with his cousins out in the WWE. There's probably a reason why Silva hasn't signed him yet. I mean, you're going to tell me that his appearances on his one appearance at Slammiversary, his name alone. I know I saw his vlogs. I do watch Fatu Fridays. It is his vlog. It's his, every Friday he drops his vlog or whatever on his YouTube. So I do watch that. And, he seemed very cool, tight with everybody in the TNA locker room. I believe in one of the scenes in the video, he was like, Silva said something about how he wanted to meet with Zilla after the show was over. Who knows what they talked about? Who knows if a contract was offered to Zilla from TNA? But my point is, I can believe that maybe it is some of his behavior that the reason why he's not in WWE. Because look at his cousin Jacob, for example. Jacob is he had a lot of problems as well, in and out of jail, crime, gangs, and all that stuff. People like to come at Jacob because he's too black. I mean, he lives that lifestyle. So does Zilla. Zilla, if I know this correctly, and I don't think this is putting anybody's personal business out there, considering the fact that he has posted and has been openly talking about it, documented on his YouTube channel and throughout his, journey as an independent wrestler. He's on parole. He might have middle of last year paid off his final debt of parole. So he is, he's probably doing a lot better now. But the thing that I wanted to really talk about, and I think that this has to do with this comment as well. This is what I've been holding off on for the last couple of minutes. So on Brett Lauderdale's reply on the bottom, you see that he says, "Young wrestlers, be careful who you surround yourself with. The dudes sitting next to you laughing it up and encouraging you when you say and do dumb shit are not your friends, and they don't have your best interests in mind. They are seeking attention and clout at your interests." Look, I don't know Brett Lauderdale personally. Again, I don't watch GCW. I give GCW a lot of shit, but I don't think he's wrong. I mean, those guys sitting next to Zilla look like complete clowns. Again, if that guy does claim to, I set this shit up, whatever, I'll give him, I'm not going to disrespect him because, maybe he's somebody that I just don't know. But the clown behind Zilla, this guy right here, who the fuck are you? Who the fuck are you? Like, this is the definition of somebody using somebody for clout. This guy probably knows nothing about GCW, knows nothing about really what wrestling's about or what a wrestling show is supposed to be. He's probably leeching off the coattails of Zilla because his buddy's famous and he's popular in the wrestling bubble. I do look. There's people that will make you go down. I mean, if you don't believe just Brett Lauderdale saying this, look, I love Zilla. This isn't me attacking Zilla. This is just me raising some of those questions, like why isn't he in a big company? What is going on? Because I apparently this isn't the first time that something like this has happened with GCW or anything. I'm going to react to this. You guys are going to see my face while I read this next tweet. This tweet comes from Death Samurai season, Bam/Jasmine. Zilla was at a AC suite party last year with one of my homies, and they was trying to hit on me, despite seeing me with my man earlier in the day. They got into an argument over liquor, and his homeboy's girlfriend looking at him. Zilla was going around giving people waterfall shots, getting everybody drunk. You know, Zilla was trying to get this girl drunk, how many times she turned her down. This isn't just new. Like, this is the first time I've seen that, but this isn't the first time that all of a sudden a problem between GCW and Zilla FATU has happened. And I knew a problem between GCW and Zilla was happening last or 2 years ago, September 20th, 2024. There's a tweet announcement made by GCW. And how do I know this? This wasn't during WrestleMania weekend. This was in the middle. This might have been during WrestleMania weekend or whatever that GCW did their shows during Philadelphia. Because let's see, that was 2024. That might have been during one of the WrestleMania weekend shows. And I saw this. I was in Philly during WrestleMania weekend, and I wanted to see what was happening. Again, I could have this mixed up, but if what I think has happened, I think it was this night. GCW posted a statement. Zilla FATU will not be appearing on tonight's GCW event in Philadelphia or any GCW shows for the foreseeable future. We tried our best to avoid this situation, but we reached an whatever the fuck. I'm sorry, I can't read. I'm done. All right. My point is, there has been issues with GCW and Zilla FATU for the last 2 years. And I think maybe now it's one of those things where we're finally going to see, or not finally going to see, but more things are going to come in the light of this situation. Now, again, I don't follow GCW. I don't really care. It's a situation in pro wrestling that I was, generally interested in giving my thoughts about, because look, he's right. You got to cut off your friends. I mean, that sounds really bad to say. Let me reword that. Zilla is a guy who not just has a lot of pressure from the wrestling business, but he's a second generation wrestler whose father passed away kind of rough, obviously with abuse and all that stuff, and WWE really never acknowledged his passing. And I think for Zilla, he has that thing on his shoulder where, he has a lot, I don't want to say a lot of pressure, but people are expecting him to be better. Excuse me for the fucking stuttering. I think people expect him to be better. I don't know what mentors he has, but when I watch Fatu Fridays, when I just see some of the people that he interacts with, in the space, it's like I don't know them personally, but we gotta make sure, like, there's people like Shelton Benjamin, MVP, whoever you want to say, people in TNA with Santino, right? Like, this guy needs mentors. This guy needs people who were friends with his dad, who knows what his dad might have went through, to help him avoid stuff like that. Because this isn't a good look for Zilla. Zilla's a really, really popular independent wrestler. Sometimes I don't even realize how popular he is. I've been following the guy, and I've been following him. Excuse me, I had to reply to a text. But look, I've been following his career. And again, the Fatu last name, you know who he is. He has that fucking big Umaga tattoo on his chest. It's not hard to miss, and it's not hard to tell who he is. But again, that also could work for him in a bad way, because people like that clown in the video I showed you, he's going to want to use him for clout. He's going to want to use him for this, and that. Maybe in the where Bane Jasmine made her statement about the party and he couldn't handle his liquor. I've also saw Joey Janela say something about that situation. It's not a good look. I mean, look at Jacob. Look where he's at to compared where he was. Does that bother him a little bit? Does that make him feel some type of way? I don't know. Only he knows that. But it's not a good look for Zilla. I wish Zilla the absolute best because he does have a future in the business. So I hope he can get this shit figured out. It's not a good look for him. It's not a good look for GCW as well. Because again, a lot was said on both sides there. We don't know what's true. Maybe more will come out. And if it does, I will be here to talk about it with you guys. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys for joining me on this video. And I'll see you guys later. Don't forget, tonight, NXT at the Sports Jedi Network. Watch along. See ya.